Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Sirupam Sagrajatam Shahagna Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Prijanam Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagna Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanto Radha Kanta Namastude तप्त कंचना गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विश्वभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पातरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तो स्वामीति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्ण भक्तारूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्त्याखं नमामि भक्ति शक्तिकम् जय श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिव साधि गौर भक्ति वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कलियुग धर्मनाम संकीर्तन की जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय ISKCON फाउंडर आचार्य हरि डिवाइन विश्व श्री भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी जी प्रभुपाद की जय श्री गुरुदेव महाराज की जय असेंबल भक्ति वृंद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदी हरि हरि हरे कृष्णा सो we can start. I see that we have only almost 3/4 participants here. Okay, so we'll just, as usual, have the summary of what we have been reading so that it will give us the idea that how far we have gone and how far is remaining. So the first two verses talks about what are the things that we have to avoid. And then after we had 5 verses talking about what are the things that favors one devotional service. And now we are in a section where we are studying about the importance of praja. So verse number 7 and 8 is done. I think last Saturday we just covered verse number 8. And then today we are going to talk about verse number 9 and most likely verse number 10. So verse number 8 was talking about living in Braja, in Vrindavan Dham, and Braja is basically the area of 84 koshas, and living with a devotee, residing with a devotee who are pure in their consciousness and following the specific mood in bhakti. And we talked about what are those 5 different types of mood, starting with Shantras, then Dasaras, Sakharas, Vatsalya and Madhurya Ras. So we'll continue building along the same line. Now we have very much reached, and we are talking about residing in Vrindavan. But within Vrindavan also, within that 84 kosha of the land, there is a gradation of the place. And today we'll see what is the holiest, the most auspicious place on this material world. That the secret going to be revealing today. So let's see the verse. Since we just finished Radha Astami, it was not the plan, but we are in fact in a section where we are going to talk about Srimati Radharani's. So that's so auspicious. Srimati Radharani ki jai. Very powerful personality. Very, very powerful personality. I love Srimati Radharani. She's so beautiful, so merciful. So much merciful. I don't have word to appreciate. Srimati Radharani ki jai. Let's all become the servant of Srimati Radharani. Jai Srimati Radharani. So we'll get into this beautiful verse and we'll try to discuss the details of this verse. Vaikuntha janito vara madhupuri tatrapi raso utsavad vrindaranyamudara paniramana tatrapi govardhana Radha kundamihapi gokulapate prem amrita palvanha Suryadasya virajato giritate Shevam vivekena ka Vaikuntha's sanito varah madhupuri tatrapi rasho utsavad. So Vaikuntha, of course, is the very, very, auspicious place, powerful place. But Vaikuntha's Janito Vara Madhu, Janito Vara means higher. So even higher than Vaikuntha is the place Madhupuri, Mathura. So Vaikuntha is the superior to the material world. But Madhupuri, Mathura, is even still superior because Krishna personally appeared there. And Tatrapi Rasho Utsavad Vrindaranyam. So, and then higher than Mathura is Vrindavan. Why? Because Lord Himself, the forest, Vrinda Aranyam means the forest of Vrinda. Vrinda is Srimati Tulsi Maharani. So forest of Vrindaranyam is the more superior place than Mathura because Rasho Utsavad, because in that forest of Vrindavan, 12 famous forest of Vrindavan. So in Vrindavan, Lord did the Rasa dance. Udara Pani Ramanath Tatrapi Govardhana. And Udara is higher than Vrindavan is Govardhan Hill. Giri Govardhan ki jai. So Giri Govardhan Hill is superior because Krishna personally raised Govardhan Hill to protect his devotee. So Govardhan Hill is superior than Vrindavan, which is superior than Mathura. Mathura is superior than Vaikuntha. Radha Kunda Mihapi Gokula Pate Prema Amrita Palvanat. Prema Amrita Apalvanat. So, see, Radha Kund is above all because It's overflooded with the nectar of divine love of Krishna. So the water that there in Radha Kunda is indication of the love that Radharani has for Lord Sri Hari. So Prem Amrita Apalvanath, overflooded with the Prem Amrita. So Sri Radha Kund is the superior most place on this planet because she is overflooding with the Prema Amrita Apalvanath. So that's what we have to remember. Sri Radha Kund is the superior most place because in the Radha Kund, the water that is uh, residing, the water that's standing, is indication of the Prem Amrita, the love between Srimati Radharani and Bhagwan. Kuryad yasya virajato grih tate shivam viveki nakaha. Viveki nakaha. Who is that intelligent person? A person who has this viveka, would not would not desire to reside on the bank, on the bank of Sri Radhakunda. Somebody is calling my work. I'm sorry for that. Let me just go away. But can you turn off my phone? So that's the basically word by word meaning of this particular verse. Just put it on silent. So that's the real meaning of this verse, that the Radha Kund is the superior most place on this. Okay. So before we get into that, we have to first understand, if you want to understand why Radha Kund is superior most, and when we say superior most, in order for us to understand that, we have to understand what we are talking about. So that's the slide I have here, which will give you some understanding that what exactly is being discussed here. So this is basically slide showing the creation, which means it has both a spiritual world and the material world. Vaikuntha refers to the spiritual world. So 3/4 of the creation that Lord has, that is Vaikuntha. And only 1/4 creation is material world. Now, in this picture, I might not be able to forecast what exactly means of 1/4. But if you have, if you can remember some of the previous discussion that we had, that Karnadakshai Vishnu, when he is breathing in and breathing out, when he, breathing out from his pore, universes are coming. And we are on one of the smallest universe. There are, innumerable universes that's coming out from the pore of Karnadakshai Vishnu. And for each universe, the feature of Lord Brahma and the feature of the residents who resides in that particular universe is different. The time span is different. The age of the citizens are different. Also, if we talk about our universe, in our universe also there is 3 planetary system. The Madhyam planetary system, which is basically Bhumandala, earthly planet, and then higher planet, and then Hellish planet. So total 14 planetary system. It's very complex. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5th, all of these details are given. But I just wanted to give you the glimpse that this is about one universe. On Earth planet itself, Bhumandala, Bhumandala itself is so complex that we are like one mustard, in the silos of a mustard seed. So it's such a, a small basically fraction belongs to where we belong to. So when we are talking about 3/4 creation being the spiritual world and 1/4 being the material world, we are talking really something, beyond our perception, chinta veda, completely beyond our intelligence. So we have here pictures showing the material world, higher earthly and hellish planet, and then we have Brahmjyoti, then Kailash, Shambhu's residence, and then after that there is residence of Lord Vishnu's 24 forms of Vishnu. They resides in Vaikuntha, and then after that you have basically Madhurya Dham, uh, uh, and in that Dham we have Dwarka, then Mathura, and then Brindavan. Okay, so in the material world also there is a replica of the Brindavan. So that Brindavan is represented by Brindavan that we have here on this material world. So in that, out of all the material world, Brahmjyoti, Kailash, all other places that we are talking about, Vaikuntha is the superior. And in Vaikuntha, once we get to the abode of the Lord, then Mathura is superior than Vaikuntha. And uh, Vrindavan, Golok Vrindavan, we are talking about, is superior than Mathura. And in Golok Vrindavan, there is Govardhan Hill, the hill that was lifted by Lord. So that Govardhan Hill is the superior. And then at the foot of Govardhan Hill, there is Radha Kund. And that Radha Kund is the supremost abode on this planetary system in the creation, the most auspicious. So for sake of material understanding, if we say that out of all the places all over the world, uh, Radha Kund is the supermost, but Radha Kund is also the supermost on the spiritual abode as well. Very, very, powerful place. So that's what basically this verse is talking about. Lord Chaitanya, when he visited Vrindavan, he was searching for Radha Kund. And then he found in a paddy field, there was a small, piece of land that has some water there. He said that this place is basically Radha Kund. He took, bath there. And then later he sent 6 Goswamis, the Goswamis of Vrindavan, to excavate and give a nice form to Radha Kund, especially Sri Raghunath Das Goswami has immense contribution in identifying and giving the nice form to Sri Radha Kund. So the love between Radha and Krishna, or the importance of Radha Kund, Prabhupada in the purport is writing, is not known to ordinary people, or even people who are not ordinary, who are so-called, spiritualist. But if they are not in the lineage of Brahmada, Gauriya Sampradaya, then he might not be able to understand the importance of Radha Kunda. So Radha Kunda or Radha Kund is very, very auspicious, very, specific, unique place for Gauriya Sampradaya. One who is not follower of Mahaprabhu, a Sampradaya which is not falling in the line of Mahaprabhu, for that Sampradaya, it's going to be very difficult to understand the importance of Radha Kunda. So, Prabhupada is also writing in the purport that doesn't matter a devotee who is practicing bhakti. Either the devotee has a sadh body or sadhaka body. I'm sure you understand. If not, then I'll a little bit explain. So even one has a sadhaka body or one has a sadhya body. Doesn't matter. Either you are sadhaka or you have perfected your sadhana. Sadhya means the one who has perfected their sadhana. The sadhya purush, sadhya purush, siddha purush. And sadhakas are the one who are still practicing the bhakti. So either one is sadh or sadhaka. It doesn't matter. Both of them should reside at the tata of at the bank of Radhakund and practice bhakti. Uh, Sri Radha, and then the Prabhupada is summarizing that Sri Rupa Goswami, being the fully conversant with the devotional sentiment with Lord Chaitanya, Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam, has described Radha Kund as the topmost. So by citing that Srila, of course, Srila Rupa Goswami is the author of Updesa Amrita, the Nectar of Instruction, but Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam, what is spoken by Sri Rupa Goswami is indeed coming from the Mahaprabhu, because Srila Rupa Goswami can read the heart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So by saying that, we are saying that Mahaprabhu himself is proclaiming that Radha Kunda is the topmost place, topmost place in the entire creation. So that is the essence of this verse. I think I will go ahead and finish the next one also, and then we can have some more discussion. So another beautiful verse here, verse number 10. Karmi bhaya parito hare priyataya vyaktim yaur jnanina Devyo jnana vimukta bhakti parama premaika nisthastata devyastah pasupala pankajadrashas tabhyo api sharadhika prestha tadvad iyam tadiya sarasi tam nasrayet kah kriti. So this verse now gives the gradation of the consciousness. So the previous verse is giving us the understanding that what is the holiest, topmost place, and this verse will give us the idea of what are the different type of consciousness and who is topmost in their consciousness. Karmi is the people who are engaged in karmic activity, in ritualistic activity. Karmi bihi parito hare priyataya vyaktim yayur jnaninas. So karmis are people, but more dear to karmis is jnani. So karmi vyah parito hare, to Lord. Parito means higher. So to Lord Hare, higher than karmi, jnanis are dear. Jnanis are more dear than karmi. Oh my gosh, I just moved it. But tevyo jnana vimukta bhakti pramaha premaika nisthasthatha. But out of all the jnanis, tevyo jnana, out of all the jnana is the one who is vimukta of jnana and engaged in bhakti, they are higher than jnani. Tevyastah Pasupal Pankaja Drishas Tabhyo Api Saradhika. And out of all the people who are engaged in devotional service and who have perfected their devotion, who have come to the point of pure devotion, Pashupal Pankajah Trisas, Pashupal, cowherd, gopis. Gopis are higher. So out of all the devotees, gopis, out of all the pure devotees, gopis are higher because they are dependent on Krishna. And Tabhayo Apisha Radhika, and of all the gopis, Srimati Radharani is Mahabhava. So in the Bhava, there are many categories, but Srimati Radharani is representative of the Mahabhava. There is no higher feeling. I don't know. Like, how can I say that? I have no idea what I'm talking about, my dear Lord. There is no other feeling of love for Krishna than the feeling Srimati Radharani has. Mahabhava. Srimati Radharani ki jai. So that's Srimati Radharani. Srimati Radharani is very, very powerful personality. Her bhav, is so high, so exalted that Lord Himself comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to taste the love that Srimati Radharani has for him. So that's the personality we are talking about, Srimati Radharani. So, Pristha Tadvad Yam Tadiya Sarasi Tam Nasrate Kakriti. So that Radharani, who is so dear to Krishna, her lake Radha Kund is also very dear to Lord. So who would not take shelter of Radha Kunda? So out of all the abode, the abode of Srimati Radharani is the topmost. Out of all the consciousness of Srimati Radharani is the topmost consciousness. So I also have a subsidiary slide to at least give some idea that what we are talking about when we are talking about the consciousness or bhava of Srimati Radharani. So this slide will give you some understanding that what is basically hierarchy of consciousness. I'm not sure if I've talked about it or not, but let me go through it. So there is anavarita consciousness, there is sankuchita consciousness, and then there is mukulita consciousness. Anavarita consciousness is fully restricted consciousness. There is some consciousness there, and Jagdish Chandra Bose, I believe he was a scientist who said that plants have life. Before he said anything, our Veda Bhagavad Gita, another Shastra says that yes, plants have the life. So they have the life, but the symptoms of life is very, very restricted. Plant cannot express the emotion. Plant cannot talk. But if you cut a branch, you would see that some sort of a liquid will seep out. Or if there is not enough water, then plant will die. So plant do feel pain. Plant do interact with the presence and absence of light. Plant do interact with presence and absence of oxygen. Plant do interact when there is some physical damage being done to the plant. But plant consciousness is not so developed that it can communicate and share the pain. But the higher than plants consciousness is this Sankuchita consciousness. So Anavrita and then Sankuchita, which means partially developed consciousness. And all the animals come under that category. And you can see in the picture that tiger lives with their, cubs. Tiger lives with the, baby that, the tiger has. And you will see that all other, plants, cows, sorry, other animals, cows and other animals, they show their emotion. They can share, maybe not directly, but they can share the emotion of pleasure and pain. But not like the human being. But the human being is a developed consciousness, and that consciousness is mukulita. It's like a flower bud, which has not completely, opened up, but it's kind of developed. It has full potential to turn into a fully grown up flower, beautiful flower. So just human birth itself is not sufficient, although the consciousness is very advanced, but that consciousness also has different degree of hierarchy. And the lowest most, Pashuhi Shamana, almost consciousness of man, Prabhupada says Dvipad Pashu, or the consciousness where one has a human form of the body, but the action that one is engaged in is very, very menial, mostly the type of things which are being done for sense gratification. So people whose intelligence are advanced enough only up to the sensual pleasure, they are uh, called bikarmis, or they are called karmakhandis. But then higher than bikarmis and karmis are the other group of people whose intelligence mind might be developed onto the mind. Mind, what mind does? Mind has thinking, feeling, and willing. So they have their intelligence develop up to the mind. Higher than mind is buddhi, accepting and rejecting, and higher than buddhi is coming to the understanding that no, I'm not this mind, I'm not this body, I'm not this buddhi. This mind, buddhi, everything is acting because there is presence of soul. So that itself is a very advanced consciousness, because once we come to this stage that no, I am beyond what I look, how I look like, or I am beyond how I perceive myself. So as soon as this consciousness of understanding soul comes, then right there something higher starts. Then there might be something beyond uh, what I can see, what I can perceive, and then that intelligence can go up to demigod worship. So start putting, trust in something higher, not necessarily in Vishnu, not necessarily in Krishna, not necessarily in Lord Rama, but something higher, maybe Ganesh, Durga, Kali, or some other personality, somebody who is controlling, somebody who is beyond me, who is giving me happiness and pleasure. So all of these consciousness will fall under Karmyogi or Sakam Karmyogi consciousness. These things are not as clear, not as black and white as I'm trying to present here, but at least I have to give you some flow. After serious thought, I came up with this slide. At least to give some sort of chart, some sort of understanding that how consciousness lands in different segments. But this could be even complexer than that. But this itself will give you very clear idea that where exactly people are falling. And then higher than karmic consciousness is the Jnani consciousness, where Jnani is not going to engage into karmic activity. He's not going to engage into the activity for sense gratification, because he knows that the actions that I'm engaged in, these actions are going to cause reaction and create karma. and then I'm going to be bound by the rope of karma. So he will completely reject all the material activity, and he would just renounce it, but not necessarily be worshipper of the Lord, not necessarily. But Gyani has opportunity, Gyani has the future to become Bhakti Yogi. And then higher than that, higher than Gyani Yoga is Ashtanga Yogi, but also sometimes Ashtanga Yogi and Gyani Yogi. So I'm going a little, different than what I did in Bhagavad Gita, because I understand now that we have been talking this thing, so we are developing our understanding. So sometimes the Ashtanga Yoga and Gyani Yoga can be also clumped together and called the Gyani Yogi. But what happens is that in Gyani Yoga, the very early on stage of the Gyan Yoga is basically Brahman. And then, higher stage in the Gyan Yoga also, when one is on the path of Gyan Yoga, and when they become higher in their consciousness and come to the stage of Dharana, Dhyan, and Samadhi, then they become more like Paramatmavadi, because Dharana is to meditate on the limbs of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And at that time, their meditation is basically on the Purusha avatar. So Kanodakshai Vishnu, Garbhodakshai Vishnu. So Garbhodakshai Vishnu is also known as Virat Purusha. Virat Purusha. So at Dharana stage, one basically meditate on the limbs of the Lord Sri Hari. So at that stage, one is basically in a stage of realizing the Paramatma. But higher than that, the topmost understanding is that one has come to the stage where one is now trying to meditate on the ultimate goal, and that ultimate goal is Bhagwan, the complete understanding of the Bhagwan, Sat Chit Anand. So Brahman understanding is basically the eternity understanding, which is Sad, and Paramatma is the Jnana aspect of Lord's understanding, Chitta. And then Bhagwan is both eternity, both knowledge, and bliss. So all future, all eternity, all knowledge, and all bliss. All these three elements are known when one is meditating, and one has perfected now. So we are sadhaka, we haven't perfected, but once we perfect our bhakti yogi, then we will become sadhya, perfected devotee. So the point that is being made here is that gopis are higher than all the bhaktas. And who are the bhaktas? The pure devotees. So bhakta here, we have to refer to the personalities who are Mahatma. The word that is being used here is Mahatma, who have perfected their bhakti, they have perfected their sadhana. They are basically, in the pure stage of consciousness, pure devotee. So bhaktas are higher than jnanis. Bhaktas are higher than jnanis, because bhakta is surrender to Krishna, and jnanis are higher than karmis, because jnanis have the knowledge. They are the people who have the knowledge, and they understand the value of life. Okay, they are liberated from all types of ignorance. They don't engage in mundane activity. They are beyond the modes. They are in the mode of goodness. Not completely conquered the mode of goodness, but they have conquered the ignorance and passion, and they would not enjoy sense pleasure. On the other hand, karmis are the people who are so-called still appearing to be very, very bhaktas type of personality, but they are doing things like business, very ritualistic type of tendency, and still they do things for some short-term return, or maybe for long-term return, that after leaving this body, I'll go back to home, back to Indra or some other heavenly planet, something, some higher planet, not back to Krishna. And the Bhikarmis are the one who are completely engaged in enjoying the sensual, subject matter. So higher than bhaktas are the gopis, all the gopis of Vrindavan. Why? Because Prabhupada is saying in the purport, they do not know anything other than Krishna. Of course, this is pure devotion, not knowing anything beyond Krishna is a Kinchana, that stage doesn't come unless and until we perfect. Don't expect any return from Krishna. So they are doing bhakti, but they are not doing the bhakti thinking that I should do bhakti of Sri Hari, Sri Krishna, because he is the supreme personality of Godhead, and by doing his bhakti, I will be benefited. Gopis, they do not have that bhav of any return. They do not know anybody uh, beyond Krishna, and they never forget Krishna. They never forget Krishna. So that's the basically Gopi's position. And out of all of these Gopis, Srimati Radha Rani is the highest of all. Now, give a pause and try to understand. So we also do deity worship. We also seems to be uh, worshipping Krishna. So are we like these gopis, where our worship falls? So this is due mercy of Mahaprabhu, a philosophy that we are very easily sharing and talking left, right, up, down, in, out. That philosophy is not very ordinary philosophy. The philosophy of raga bhakti, philosophy of understanding the bhav of gopis, that is very powerful, very deep type of bhava or feeling. That feeling, a a conditioned soul, a person who has material contamination cannot even have tinge of feeling of that bhav, the bhav that gopis have. But still, we seems to be engaged in serving Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is why sometimes, acharyas, they keep some of these things very secret. Why they keep it secret? Because people cannot understand. People cannot perceive the importance or the depth that is being presented, or the gift that is being given. So that's why we all are very, very fortunate, because we are following the teaching of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu, the teaching that Mahaprabhu has given, Go Lokara Premadhana Harinam Sankirtana. Go Loka, the highest most abode. Premadhana, the the most powerful dhan, the most powerful, that the thing that belong to Golok Vrindavan is the bhakti, and bhakti in Madhurya Ras. That's why in the slide that I was showing before, I showed that in Golok, in Golok Vrindavan, the bhav is uh, very much Madhurya bhav. So we cannot understand the intensity of that devotion, this Madhurya bhav. And that is why uh, we seems to be, not understanding when we say Mahaprabhu gave a philosophy, that philosophy is Achinta Veda Veda Tattva. We say these words very clearly, Achinta Veda Veda Tattva, simultaneously one and difference. People, left and right say these things. What is the understanding behind it? What is the real meaning of Achinta Veda Veda Tattva? We really, don't have clue of it. So the prescription is given, and that's why this degree of consciousness or hierarchy of the consciousness is very important. Very important, because this understanding, this hierarchy will help us understand that there are infinite many steps that one has to step up, one has to come up and come to the stage where they can understand the bhav of the gopis, or the subject that being spoken here. What's the depth associated to it? How we can perceive that? So different, and that's the reason that guru comes into the picture, and guru, knowing the mood and hierarchy or the depth of consciousness that one has acquired, devotee guru will engage uh, his disciple or her disciple in a specific process, and that process will gradually lead and bring one to the stage of Madhurya Bhakti. But before one can understand the Madhurya Bhakti, one has to understand the Bhakti that is in Aishwarya Bhav. Devotion that other, Vishnu devotees have for Lord Vishnu, or type of devotion that Srimati Lakshmi Devi has for Vishnu. The devotion that Lakshmi Devi has for Vishnu and devotion that Srimati Radharani has for Krishna is very different, very different. Maybe the personality is same, the tattva is same, but the type of devotion or the mood of bhakti that Srimati Lakshmi Devi has or Srimati Sita Devi has for Lord Ramchand is quite different than mood that Srimati Radharani, Gopis, and her manjaris have for Lord Krishna. So although we are practicing some of the limbs of Raga Bhakti, but in reality, we are doing that as a Swarya Bhakti, a Swarya Bhav. I don't know if you are understanding or not. So although we might be engaged in doing some of the limbs of the Bhakti or following some of the aspects of the Bhakti, that is of the Madhurya status, but our approach is still Aishwarya. In Aishwarya, what happens is that, well, this is Lord, we are his follower, Lord need to be worshipped, Lord need to be given the respect. So this type of understanding is in Aishwarya Bhav. In Madhurya Bhav, no, gopis do not have that understanding, and that Bhav is the highest most bhav. That is why sometimes we get criticized also, that how come in the age of Kali Yuga, where people have so much fault, so much contamination, so much problem, they can understand this ragatmika bhakti, the bhakti that is being taught through Gaudiya Madhav Sampradaya. This Ragatmika Bhakti, how the conditioned soul in this age can perceive, how they can understand. And of course, we cannot understand. But at the same time, mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a very powerful personality. To understand what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us, if we understand from that way, that what he is giving is like something beyond you and I can perceive. And at the same time, not putting any prerequisite, not putting any terms and condition to come and get that highest, most highest, most, goal of the life, that Ragatmika Bhakti, or that Madhurya Bhakti of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who is giving it? Mahaprabhu. What condition he is putting? No condition he is putting. How you understand that? You can understand that by reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, by reading the pastime of Jagai and Madhai, you know, what qualification they had and how they received the Prema Bhakti. So we are even fallen, or we are like Jagai and Madhai. But since we are following the path of uh, Mahaprabhu, there is hope against the hope. And who is this Mahaprabhu? Mahaprabhu who took the mood, Srimati Radharani. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are a series of verses and then chapter dedicated to explain the internal and external reason of Mahaprabhu's to appear. And Mahaprabhu appeared because he wanted himself to taste the mood of Srimati Radharani. Okay, so when we are talking about the bhakti or the mood that depicted by Srimati Radharani is the topmost mood, I just wanted to give you some gravity, just wanted to give you some force with that statement to make some impression on our mind that what exactly we are talking about when we are talking about Srimati Radharani is the highest of all the gopis. What exactly is associated uh, with that? So we'll talk a little bit once we are done going through the slides, but that's the basically essence which is given in this verse. So you can see here in concentric circles that there are other consciousness, and this can even go longer, depend how you want to present it. There are other consciousness for Supreme Lord, but the highest, most consciousness is the consciousness of Srimati Radharani. The highest, most bhava that is for Lord is Srimati Radharani's bhava. So best sadhaka, one who performs bhakti while residing on the banks of Radha Kunda, is the best and dearest to Krishna. So following the process, the path that given by Srimati Radharani at her holiest spot at Radha Kund is known to be the best way to make our bhakti perfected and also please Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the next slide is basically, so next last two verses, that's why I wanted to keep them together. So last two verses that we studied, we went through, is talking about Srimati Radharani and her Radha Kund. Okay, so this is a verse that's coming from Laghu Bhagavatamrita. Beautiful verse that says, Yatha Radha Priya Vishnu Tasya Kundam Priyam Tatha. Yatha Radha Priya Vishnu. As Srimati Radharani is dear to Supreme Lord, Tasya Kundam Priyam Tatha. Likewise, her Kund, Radha Kund, is also equally dear to Lord. Sarvah Gopishu Saivake. Among all the gopis, Srimati Radharani stands as topmost. Vishnu Atyanta Vallabha. She is the most beloved. She is the most beloved to Lord Sri Hari. So that's how verse number 9 and 10 finishes. We have only one verse left, which is verse number 11. So next Saturday, I'll read verse number 11, highlight few key points from the purport, and then we'll try to summarize all 11 verses together, and then we'll wrap up with the Nectar of Instruction. So with that, I would like to give you a pause here. I'd like to give a pause. And I'm discouraged to see that there are not many devotees who are joining it. And that definitely is not good because number one, I'm sure they are missing some of this important subject and their attendance is going low. So I don't know. We'll see how things will turn up. So with that, I would like to give a pause and answer any questions you have, or maybe if you can share some of your realization, please go ahead and do so. Thank you. Hare Krishna.